Hello, folks. This is Collector Togami, and I'm here with a special guest. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Zari. I am Collector Tagami's longtime friend and partner in crime behind the scenes. Pass it off back to you,
Indeed.
Tagami.
Yeah, you've been helping me out with RNG stuff, with some of the more iconic jokes like Hold My Bjork. I still can't believe that snowballed from a single sarcastic comment you made into one of the most popular videos in this channel.
That amazes me as well. I'm happy to create memes, but no guarantees what will come out.
We're gonna go ahead. Yeah, we're gonna take a few questions here. First on YouTube, then on Reddit. Hecht asks, why is Lind your waifu? She is my favorite female character in the game, like in the entire franchise. I wouldn't exactly say waifu, but she's definitely a favorite. She's also pretty good in Heroes, wouldn't you say?
Oh, in Heroes, I've enjoyed using her. She's ridiculously difficult to pull. I lucked out as my iconic trollish luck gave me her, along with Hector, on off-focus pulls at the same time, but she is definitely relevant if difficult to use, in the sense that she's difficult to pull. With the Dragon Breath update on 2.0, she's a little bit trickier to pull off, whether with Blarblade or with Dark Aura, or her original Aura, but she's still a relevant character due to her high attack and speed, regardless of that fact.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, next question is from Joseph Jones. He says, do you have any future Ribbon Master plans? And yeah, I actually would love to do something using a gold or silver virtual console Pokemon, get the Gen 7 ribbons and that, and eventually one starting in Gen 8. Let's hope Gen 8 is unlike Gen 5, where we had absolutely no new ribbons. You remember Pokestar Studios?
Yeah, I definitely
Like
do.
That had that cool little shine, but no ribbons. It was disappointing.
Oh yes, it was definitely disappointing. Well, I'm personally not a Ribbon Master collector. I can definitely see the appeal behind it. I'm more of kind of the theory crafting and the RNG mechanics kind of person, but I can definitely see the appeal behind that sort of project.
Yes, absolutely. So, next question is from Q Quarter. What's your favorite brand of cereal? Lucky Charms, ironically.
For me, it's probably the deluge of Cocoa Cereals, Cocoa Puffs, Cocoa Pebbles. I have always had a guilty pleasure with those.
Oh god, same. Now I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. So the next question is, have you been getting enough sleep? Ha 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 ha, no. Come on, I stayed up for 17 and a half hours doing battle agency. Do any of you think I get sleep?
Personally, I've been getting enough sleep. I'm getting like 7 hours a night, maybe sometimes 6, but it's enough for me. Next then?
Well, here goes nothing. How many times have you attempted Awakening's Lunatic Plus mode? Once, I beat it. That's more than enough. I'm not gonna put myself through that again as long as I live.
For me, Lunatic Plus, for actual completed attempts, where I didn't get bored and have my characters completely overpowered just via in-story, 0. I got bored about 4 separate attempts, just because with the different setups you can use, I didn't really restrict myself. I did restrict from downloadable content, but otherwise, softer setted for level ups because you can do that in Awakening, unlike Fates. But that just basically made it possible still to cheese despite Lunatic Plus.
Yeah, you have some pretty good methods for cheesing stuff like this. It's always very interesting to see what you come up with.
Definitely. I'll start the next one then. Who do you main in Smash? Any game? I haven't actually played Smash recently. I used to do a very weird main of Lucario in Brawl. I dislike him now in Smash 4, but in Brawl he was a lot of fun for me just because I was really good at dodging and being able to keep high damage and then just KO everybody. But I also don't truly play competitive Smash.
I have not played it in months. The last time I actually had Smash open was for the Core and Amiibo shitpost. And that was like in June or July. But in the rare occasion I do play, I just go as Marth. And I suck. I'm not gonna uh, say it any other way. I suck. So the next question is, what are your biggest hopes for FE Switch? You know what? I'm hoping that we get Wi-Fi battles. That's the big thing. And we were discussing this a few months ago, how we were planning on doing some sort of series on Wi-Fi battles for showing how cool it is to use maxed out stat characters in a battle setting like that, but never came around, you know?
Yeah, that was because Echoes, which was this was for, there was real no Wi-Fi option beyond kind of the whole, what was it, Renown. I haven't
Yeah,
touched Echoes in
leaderboard.
ages. The leaderboard. Beyond that, there really wasn't anything, and so that kind of crushed our hopes of doing this, using some of my level softer setted characters in some sort of online Wi-Fi battle. So yeah, that would be a real treat to have that sort of thing. Unlike, well, akin to Fate's wireless, but hopefully with less hackathon, because that really did not have any hack checks at all.
It's Nintendo. I mean, come on, Nintendo doing good hack checks.
Well, yeah, that is a truth, but one can hope.
I guess. I do have one more point to add about this, though. The FE Switch, there's speculation that they're going to have something more akin to Castlevania. And let me just say, if that is right, I will be very, very, very happy because I did that Castlevania parody with Echoes. What was it, July or August? So
Something
if
like
it is
that.
right, I basically predicted it. I basically predicted it months ahead, and that would make me very pleased, even if coincidental to have called it.
What anime are our favorites? Well, mine personally, I'm surprisingly not that big of an anime fan. I get the appeal behind it, but I'm more someone who likes to do things, whether it's tinkering with RNG mechanics or figuring stuff out, reverse engineering stuff. I prefer that sort of thing than just sitting there watching. But it is engaging sometimes. I haven't really watched anime recently, but that's just me. How about you, Tagami?
I love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, as one could guess from the numerous references I make in my content.
No, that's
Numerous.
true.
The next one is, do you like memes, and if so, which ones? Again, I make that very, very obvious. What is a Man is my number one favorite meme of all time. And then you have a million JoJo references and Omae wa mo Shinderu. What about you?
For me, I typically don't follow the strongest memes or anything out there. It's kind of like no rhyme or reason for me. I like ones I create because I like following those. Hold My Bjork is one of them. But I typically don't follow the quote unquote big name memes out there. It's just really not my kind of thing.
Understandable, understandable. So the next one, who is best girl in FE games? Like I said, it's Lind. One for each game. I mean, I'm not gonna answer ships because I know no matter what I say, I'll get flamed in the comments. So I'll just say ships, whatever the hell you want, keep me out of it. Yeah, it's Lind, and then you have Gaiden, Arcanea. I enjoy Sonya. Then FE4 is Ishtar. FE5, she's there as well. Not really a big fan of the girls in FE6. FE7, I like Lynn. Then 8, I like Erica. And Telius, I guess Mia. Then Awakening, Muriel, Fates, Camilla. But yeah, you?
For me, I actually, well, let's see. Defaulting to the best option for Fai 1 is Marth, just because he's Tiara, pantsless Tiara boy. I haven't really played a lot of the earlier ones because I started myself with 7. Going from there, who was it? I haven't touched these in ages. I think it was. I'm actually more a fan of Florina than Lynn in Fire 7 or Fire Emblem 7. For Fire Emblem 8, Amelia, just because she's so cheesable. If you actually take the time to level her up, her speed growth is ridiculous. For Telius, probably Astrid, just because she's so quiet. It's there's not. I mean, there's common options like Mist and that kind of stuff, but I just like Astrid because she's an underrated character, especially in Fire Emblem 10, because of she's basically the fastest paladin or silver knight in the game, and she's actually quite usable because of that. For let's see, Awakening, I couldn't really say. There were a lot of popular and a lot of choices I like, so I'm just going to abstain from that one. For Fates, oh, it's kind of the same thing. But I really don't have preferences in those two. So, yeah, that's me. I'm kind of the atypical oddball person in that kind of scenario. And for ships, the only one I'll comment on is the one in Echoes that burns down, or that, or not actual Fire Emblem character ships, but I am more a fan of the actual ships, just because those blowing up that one ship, I forget which game it was, but you get to blow up a ship, and that works.
So I have two things to say about what you said just now. First, I cannot believe you seriously picked Pantless Tiara Boy. I should have seen it coming, but you genuinely surprised me there. You really caught me off guard. Congratulations.
Oh boy. Well, that's another tick mark on the board then.
Sure is.
But
second, what about Echoes though? You mentioned Awakening and Fates.
I like Celica. I dislike her stubborn kind of mule-headedness, so it's kind of a mixed bag for me there. I like her character. I dislike her stubbornness. It's
understandable. Let's see. The next question is: Congratulations. What's your native language? I technically have my first language as Portuguese, but I speak English very fluently because I was trained in it from a young age. Say something in it. Okay. Something is alguma coisa. Make it a long sentence. Alguma coisa em uma frase longa. Something in a long sentence.
That's so you. Okay. For me, my native language is actually English. So I'll just say something and leave it at that.
Okay. What's your favorite Pokemon game? It's Colosseum, no doubt.
Yeah, Colosseum, and to a lesser extent, Gales of Darkness, or XD as it's commonly referred to. Those Aura is a very good. It actually has difficulty. Is basically what I'll say. The rest you can basically cheese your way through via grinding, but Colosseum in particular, you can grind, but it's a hell of a lot more difficult to do, and it actually has
It sure
difficulty,
is.
especially in the beginning.
That it does.
Have you ever blacked out in a shower before? For me, no. How about you, Tagami?
What kind of question is this? And no,
I don't know.
I have not.
No. Okay.
I
Let's
am
just
very
go ahead and
much
open it.
conscious when I shower. So let's go to the next one. How many shiny Pokemon have you accumulated with RNG? Too many.
I can't count them. I mean, I have. Counting the games, I mean, I have for gens 3 through what is it? 5. No, it's 3 through 5. I have every single cart, most times multiple, except Pearl. And I have been RNGing and that kind of stuff since 3rd gen. So for me, it's kind of like, what haven't I shiny RNG that is possible, obviously. It's quite literally an exercise in futility for me to find stuff that I want to, unless I actively use it. A lot of the times I'll boot up my old carts and it's like, hey, when did I get that? And it's like, I don't know. It's been too long.
Yeah, you've been at it way longer than I have. I started taking RNG more seriously, I believe it was in August of 2015. You've been at it since what, 2011?
2009, actually, was when I actually started.
Wow.
2011 was when I was actually pioneering stuff, and since then I've kind of dropped a little bit in activity. I no longer really trade, mostly because I can get everything myself that I ever wanted, and then some, so I have overflowing with stuff. Because that's essentially what most of my RNGs are at this point, either that or memes. Or little jokes I make to myself. But we kind of got off on a tangent there. I'll let you take the next one.
Okay. Byakuya, which JoJo-mon / Poco star, I'm guessing they meant to say Polka Star, is the strongest? Sir Jonathan the Aerodactyl, Pillarman Slayer Alakazam Joseph, or Jotaro the Starmie Platinum? First, very, very good follow-up on the JoJo references there. Second, I'm gonna cut off Jotaro here. Unlike the source material, I haven't really used him that much. Aerodactyl is a Rockhead Double Edge Pokemon, and Alakazam is Tri-Punch, Fire, Ice, and Thunder Punch. So based on that, it's safe to say that Joseph is very strong in the context of 3rd gen, before the physical and special split, while Aerodactyl keeps being relevant past that because, Rockhead Double Edge Choice Band, that's a pretty neat combo.
I don't really have any comment on that, but oh boy. Next one. Tell us some funny jokes. My favorite one is using weapons. I use them constantly. I am in battle daily, and I used weapons.
Weapons of mass comedy.
No, just weapons. I mean, like, if you spell it with a UN, it's a weapon.
Okay, I'll just say a quick one. Back when Smogon was suspect testing Metagross, I went in a bunch of their chat rooms and I kept saying, "Oh, so you guys are going to decide if Metagross will make the Metagross." It was very funny to derail their discussions with that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. But wouldn't it then not be a metagame? I mean, if you're
Get out.
suspect. There, I did my second one.
Good one. I'll say one more. On the same vein, they tested Sableye. Would Sableye say bye?
No, that's not good. That's not level. I'm not even laughing. I'm just like deadpanning right now. But okay, moving on. Yes.
Yeah.
I still haven't lost our pun wars, but okay, moving on. What game that got you into RPGs as your main video game genre for a long time? Actually, my main video game genre for me personally is actually strategy. I play more strategy games than RPGs, though obviously I do play RPGs. I tend to go towards strategy just because it's easier in strategy games to find routes and methods to cheese the game. And because that's one of my main hobbies in playing video games is at this point I've been playing them for so long that spotting how to beat the game becomes a game for me in its own right. What about you, Tagami?
I can relate. I personally enjoy what is known as cherry tapping, which is to defeat a character in a humiliating manner. For example, drain all of their mana so the AI is forced to waste turns by failing to cast a spell. I have done quite a few videos on that. The second thing I enjoy a lot is, well, RPGs overall. I would say the Lufia series on the Super Nintendo is what truly sold me. They were very fun games, and maybe I should play them again and stream it sometime. It's a very simple mechanics systems wise, very good turn based standard. I believe Mage Knight 404 is having another Let's Play of it if you guys want to check it out. Anyway, let's see here. Next question. Aside from Pokemon and Fire Emblem, possibly Danganronpa, what other games do you play, and what are probably your favorite aspects of those two games you picked? Oh, that's a very easy one. My favorite JRPG and overall game of all time is, and I'm probably not going to pronounce it right, Hurudora no Hiho, Treasure of Rudras. It combines one of the most unique magic systems I have ever seen because you take a spell by taking word prefixes and suffixes. And that is something that appeals to me a lot because I enjoy linguistics. And the second game that is my favorite is Live a Live. It combines several branching storylines in a chessboard style combat system. And you are going through like the future, the past, the present, all of these seemingly unrelated storylines come together for something bigger. And I don't know, that's something that I personally enjoy a lot, seeing these characters come together, seeing, oh, person A is doing this while person B is doing that. How can this affect that? That kind of thing. What about you?
For me, it's actually a really difficult choice for other games. I actually, well, I'll pick two that I've played recently. One is the original Xenoblade Chronicles, I actually own the Wii version of that. That is an adventure you can really sink your teeth into, which is definitely a good aspect for me because oftentimes I find with some video games there's not really a lot of time in the story, or it's just kind of boring after a little while. So I really like the games that you can sink your teeth into and do a lot of stuff, because there's hundreds of side quests in there that take oodles of time to complete, and there's even a bit of differing routes in there, though the end result is mostly the same. But yeah, I really like the sinking your teeth into games for a long time, and in that vein, um, I'll go with an oldie for the second one. It will be Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, the original. While the game itself, the story is basically throwaway. It's only interesting the first pass through. A lot of the mechanics and, to an extent, some of the glitches and gameplay, it is very engaging in terms of a strategy game. There's obviously broken strategies, but there's a lot of hidden mechanics and hidden actual abilities and paths through the game you can take, and kind of like hidden criteria that make it a really enjoyable experience to replay and find all those little tidbits in a single playthrough. It's also very fun to ROM hack and create different difficulty settings for yourself. So those are my picks.
Those are absolutely fantastic games from my own personal experience. So the follow-up question here is, what is the worst game you have ever experienced or played through, and why? That's Hoshiwo Mirohito, Stargazers on the NES. Imagine a game where the starting village is invisible, where your bare fists are stronger than the best weapon you can buy, a game where you have a password system that doesn't save your own level, and it is also a game where the first wild encounters can kill you in 2 hits. I played for 15 minutes before I rage quit, and I will never touch that game again so long as I live. What about you?
Worst is kind of subjective for me. There's a couple games I glanced at. I really couldn't pick a single worst game, mostly because if I see a game, I tend to read reviews or look at gameplay somewhat before picking it up. So a lot of the worst, quote unquote, worst games I've actually avoided. Going off that, one of the worst games I've ever really seen is, at a glance, kind of like playing a game you can play in real life as a video game. I mean, some of them are actually pretty good in terms of mechanics wise, but like there's Yahtzee. You can play Yahtzee online with other people when you could just play it, buy the board game and save yourself money or whatever. I don't know. A lot of games I've avoided, and so I don't really have a worst one off the top of my head. Definitely the one Tagami mentioned is sounds pretty terrible, but I tend to avoid ones I know can just aren't worth playing.
You, my friend, has saved yourself from countless hours of playing Hoshiwo Mirohito among other games. That's all I have to say to that.
Yeah. Wait, didn't we already do that next question?
Yes, we did. We'll just skip it. Favorite and least favorite Danganronpa character from each game. Favorite from the first, Sayaka Maizuno. No, I mean, the most favorite is Kyoko Kirigiri, the least favorite is Maizono. The I'm an Esper thing got boring after the third time. SDRV2, or was it SDR2? I don't recall the abbreviation. I was a big fan of Ibuki Miyoda, and I did not like Teruteru Hamamura, or however you say his name. DRV3, I liked Miyu Iruma, and I disliked Kokichi Oma. Boy, oh boy, am I gonna get flamed for these opinions. Have you ever played Danganronpa before?
Personally, I don't think I have, which is kind of surprising. I've glanced at it a couple of times, but I just haven't really found the time to play it with all my other stuff I've been doing. So I
Yeah,
really
it's
don't have a
a big
comment.
time sink. Yeah, it's a big time sink, so it's understandable. When will you do videos on Professor Layton? Okay, I'm gonna explain the context behind this one. Some people say that my profile pic looks like Professor Layton because of the top hat and the black jacket, and because I enjoy solving puzzles. I do enjoy the Layton series, but I don't have any plans to make videos on that. It's a big no for me. Have you ever played any of those?
I've definitely heard of it. I don't think I've played it. But I've definitely heard of it. It sounds interesting, but again, I just have a lot of stuff on my plate time-wise that I'm already doing. So it's...
True that.
Mm-hmm. All
So
right.
let's see.
Oh,
Inspiration for the
okay.
What If Blank dies. You were actually there for that. I remember discussing it with you very clearly the day it happened. I was thinking back to my FE Gaiden days when I saw Valbar and I thought, oh, there must be a game over if he dies. But I'm a very inquisitive person, so I would like to know what happens. So I picked up Echoes and I hacked the game with some NTR codes so you can control the enemy. And I had the enemy kill Valbar to see what happened. I had, let me be blunt, I had no idea the game would continue. I had no idea it would span a series that is still ongoing to this day. It honestly baffles me every morning how this series is still going. You guys are all sadistic, and I appreciate the views.
That sounds about right to me.
Expired jelly bean. Oh my
Uh-oh.
god. I'm not gonna read it, I'll just say my answer. Whichever one has Chris Hansen on speed dial.
Okay. Sounds... Well, for me, I'd say, I can go with the non-troll answer, the troll answer. Which do you want me to do, Tagami?
Let's troll the guy.
Marth, pantsless DR boy.
Oh my god. Oh god, you can take this next one.
Okay, why do you love your president so much? We have a president?
I
mean,
thought we had. It's a host of an Oompa Loompa controlled by Toupee. That's pretty much what we have.
yes. Or something like that. Let's see. For the next one, which Fire Emblem game do you think is the best in design gameplay-wise? For me, I'm kind of biased towards Fire Emblem 10, because that has a lot of good mechanics towards level up, soft resetting, but that's just personally my opinion. I think a lot of the Fire Emblem games have great mechanics. I just personally prefer Fire Emblem 10 and its battle save, because that expedites the process.
I'm actually gonna build on to what you said because gameplay wise, I love it. One of my main issues, and I know a lot of you will disagree with me here, is that I wish Fire Emblem games were longer. And Radiant Dawn really made me happy in that regard because it has considerable length, and that really made me happy. Design wise, I enjoyed the aesthetics that Kaga had in Fire Emblem 4 and 5. I really enjoyed the designs of Leaf Seliph, Ishtar, etc. And let's see the next question. What would happen if no one left a question in this video? I don't know. You tell me. You broke the record here by asking a question yourself. Blake Blast.
Okay, for the next one, in all seriousness, what are your hopes for Fire Emblem on the Switch versus what are your expectations? For me,
I think we discussed that already, actually.
yeah.
We'll just skip this one because we already talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the government monitoring all our movements? Wait, wrong comment section. Okay, you gotta laugh out of me, but I'm not gonna answer that one.
Okay. What do you think is the worst Fire Emblem game? Well, gameplay-wise, there's always Carry Me Roy in Fire Emblem 6, where the Lord was basically useless and you couldn't really use him. So we most times on efficient runs ended up as a level 1 unit. Beyond that, I really don't have any idea, because I've liked the ones I've played. For the ones I haven't played, I couldn't tell you.
For me, it was Gaiden, and I know, get your pitchforks ready. I didn't like Gaiden. I enjoyed Echoes, but I think it was a poor choice for a remake because the original Gaiden did not age well, and I really, really wish they had picked something else. As I showed in one video, the storyline is not very well programmed. You can recruit literally everyone except I think Lucas with Celica, and all will still show up in the dialogue like nothing happened. And that kind of oversight really sells me as the worst. On a serious note, what inspired you to become a YouTuber? I felt like I needed a new hobby at a certain point in my life about 2 years ago. And I thought, hey, you know what? I want to do some stuff in Pokemon, beat the Battle Frontier again, all that stuff. Why don't I just film it? Maybe it'll be fun to watch. And here we are. So, next question then?
Yeah. Oh. Flameworthy one if I ever saw one. Best Fire Emblem game. For me, I'll go with the one I enjoyed most, and that was Fire Emblem 10. For me, Fire Emblem 10 really highlighted a lot of the series for me. It was also the only game that I got the disc version for, or hard copy, for both English and Japanese. And they were legit copies, because my aunt was in Japan at the time, and I asked her to get the Japanese copy for me. But I really enjoyed and played it to death, and so I'll just call that my best Fire Emblem game.
For me, it's Fire Emblem 4. I really enjoyed the story. It was very captivating to me. The whole multiple dynasty thing, as I said, the branching storylines, how everything comes together. Like I said, I'm a sucker for that, and FE4 played to that kind of appeal to me. So the next question, what kind of shampoo do you use? I'm actually going to say a sarcastic answer and say I'll use the tears of people who lost their waifus in my videos.
I'll take it a step further. Salt.
Use salt as shampoo.
Well, I mean, if you're going to use tears, I'll use salt.
That works. Next question then.
Can you tip the scales? Depends on what we're talking about, really. I'd say the most common answer would be yes, but not much to expand upon there.
I would say yes, because I can get a high enough critical rate to say the quote, time to tip the scales. Best OST for a game, in your opinion? That's Treasure of Rudris. I'm actually gonna leave a bit of footage from the game here and just show it to you guys why I enjoy this game so much.
Personally, for me, I've enjoyed a lot of OSTs, but for an OST that actually matches the gameplay, like, really well, I prefer Seventh Dragon 3. That really highlighted for me and gave me a lot of joy in that game. I mean, it was both a great game for me, heavily underrated, but its OST really was good, slightly techno-y, a little bit more than I was comfortable with, but it really did match the gameplay. In my sounds good.
So let's go to the next part then. We now have the Reddit questions. Number 1, what's your opinion in armored classes? How do you improve them? I'm actually a big fan of armor units because I don't have a very aggressive playstyle. I prefer to take my time using defensive choke points. I know, an unpopular opinion, I don't care about low turn counts as much. I enjoyed a lot. I would like to see mages with armor. That's how I improve it. Didn't we have that in Heroes recently with Halloween?
We did. I think we also had that in early stages, but they were a bit broken in the main Fire Emblem series. What was it, Arvis? That had Valflame?
Yeah, Orvis did. Yeah, he was of the Baron class, which basically could use literally everything except dark magic. But I'm talking about a more dedicated class to magic that is also armored, not something that has, like weapons and armor and magic. Just armor and magic. What do you think about armor classes as a whole?
As a whole, I think they're an interesting choice, very fitting with the Fire Emblem canon. As for how to improve them, I'm not sure that a lot of the time they need improvement just due to their high defense, unless the game is in question is really magic heavy. Then they kind of fall off, but that makes them balanced. So I'd say that armored units are, at least in the mainstream Fire Emblem, pretty much where they need to be. For Fire Emblem Heroes... Well, for Fire Emblem Heroes, it's up in the air just because of the power creep that keeps going on. That's not really present in a mainstream Fire Emblem game, but for Heroes, it's more up in the air. I would debatably say that we don't really need to do anything at this point, but that could be drawn into question at any given time.
Understandable. And the second question?
Do I have a cat for Fire Emblem, Reddit Fire Emblem cats? I do have a cat. I don't know if it's suitable for Fire Emblem cats. She's a little bit too inquisitive and might get burnt or stabbed, or she likes to go places. So I'm not sure that she's really a Fire Emblem player.
I personally don't have a cat, but I love that subreddit now that I know it exists. I absolutely do. So let's see the next question here. First, you say you're Professor Oak, and then you say a collector named Togami. Which is it? It's both. I am a Pokemon collector, and I'm also the professor. A lot of people don't know about this about me, but there are two sides to my online presence, and I do put on a bit of an act when talking about Fire Emblem. Like, I call everyone disgusting, sadistic people for enjoying the what if videos, but that is for the most part hyperbolic because you guys enjoy said act. In Pokemon, I am a collector, as is my buddy here. We love collecting stuff, and we love to keep doing that. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds about right.
And I see two people there made Vietnamese crystal references. Thumbs up for that. Absolute thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? I'm just going to skip this one. But although I would admit I got a chuckle out of what if I ask who he is before looking him up? I got a chuckle out of that. Oh boy, you can take this one.
Is your soul yet intact? Maybe? I don't know. Considering my online presence, what little it appears as, I often have the nickname of Zombie Zari. So I'll say that that's a maybe. Just because I got that nickname for keeping odd hours sometimes, but so yeah,
Okay,
maybe.
let me ask you this. I'll ask you this though. How many times have you RNG'd a Giratina?
I want to say like 5 or 6.
You have sold your soul to the devil 5 or 6 times to RNG it. Congratulations.
Well, on the contrary, if I was already a zombie at that point, I didn't have a soul to sell to the devil.
So you
So
give someone else a soul.
no, I died and lost my soul, and then I didn't have any soul to give.
Fair enough. For me, I cannot say my soul's intact with all these what if videos I make. I'm not gonna pretend. I mean, I am. It's like I said, it's a theatrical. But in that context, yeah, you got me. Luxon, that's your name. So let's see the next one. I'm actually curious to hear what you have to say on this.
For me, what are your favorite and least favorite what if videos? I don't really have a personal preference, but I do like the ones that manage to sneak jokes in there. Those always drew a chuckle out of me, and on the flip side, I guess my least favorite are the ones that don't really have that. I couldn't really say
So, yeah, you
which
enjoyed
of...
the top 10 anime betrayal sub-series then. That's the ones where I did things like, oh, trust broke, daddy issues broke.
Yeah, those got a chuckle out of me.
Definitely got more of them lined up, let me tell you. Got more
Oh
of
boy.
them coming, I think, next week. For me, my favorite, I'll have to say, What If Matilda Dies, because, not gonna lie, I was genuinely moved by the conversation that Clive and Alm had. I am not someone to get emotional over video games, but the voice acting genuinely hit me in the feels, shall we say. As for my least favorite, it was Xander loses by doing absolutely nothing. I waited 1 hour to see if one of the ally characters would die, or if the boss would die in Fire Emblem Warriors, or if you get at least some sort of altered dialogue. I wasted 1 hour and I got nothing to show for it. And that honestly upset me that day. I'm thinking about going back and like ram hacking the game so we can force 0 HP or something. I don't know.
Okay, next one. Did you ever beat the Tearing Saga or Tearing Saga? idea or two from that game, but I'm not going to ask you if you haven't beat it since one. No, I have not beaten it personally, but then again, that's me. What about you, Tagami?
I would like to, especially since I have that PS3 coming in next week. I would probably stream it. Maybe I'm really looking forward to it. Hozu, you can go ahead and message me your suggestions anyway. You're welcome to spoil me if it's for one of these videos. I honestly encourage you to, actually. Please do. Please do. So, the next question: what is your favorite animal? That's a pretty good one. I do enjoy cats a lot, even though I'm allergic. It's kind of ironic. What about you?
Um, Cats are always a favorite. Trying to think of the name of that. There's this one monkey that's kind of adorable. I believe it's a meerkat, or it's in that sort of family, but it's quite adorable, and it's always amusing to me. Let's see. For the next part, how do you feel about pirates? Um, it's honestly debatable for me. Um, well, this is this like pirates as in the yo ho ho are pirates, or what kind of pirates are we talking about? That's not really specific.
I was actually going to ask you the same thing. I wasn't sure if it was the Ahoy Me Mateys pirates or like ROM hacking piracy. Let's just answer both sides of it, I guess.
Well, if it's the I really enjoyed stuff like Pirates of the Caribbean with Jack Sparrow being kind of 24/7 drunk. That was really amusing to me. The stereotypical pirates in the Fire Emblem games aren't very interesting, but I guess they're made that way because they're generic enemies. But the some humor in there is quite fun for me, and they are very I will say liberating characters because they don't follow the societal norms. I'd say it's debatable because on one hand, you are denying a company if somebody pirates something, they are denying a company some money for what they're working for, what they worked hard for. Now, debatably, is if you're supporting the company still in other ways, that may not be such a problem. Like, I don't know, if you supported a game company for a long time and now are on hard times, I don't know. It's a very gray area. I don't want to say it's a good thing because it really isn't, but it's not clear cut to me.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. First, about the Ahoy Me Mateys pirates. I find it very appealing overall, and I agree, especially when they put a humorous twist on it. As for, software, hardware piracy, that kind of thing, it's I would say it's okay if it's something very hard to obtain, something that hasn't been released where you live, or it's very obscure, very high price because there are no new copies of it. In that case, I would honestly say, go for it. But otherwise, yeah, it's not as good. So next question, and let me see here. What's over here? Ah, I see. What's your favorite Fire Emblem game? We already discussed that one. What do you want out of FE16? Again, we already discussed that one. Is guest 13? I think I'm missing a joke here. I don't get it.
Believe it's a character, but I'm not sure who it is because
Oh,
I
it's the
haven't.
gas station. He's another YouTuber. He's the one who's been doing
Oh,
more stuff with Daycons than me.
oh, I couldn't comment on that. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't watch videos from other YouTubers that much because I'm kind of busy doing my own content. No offense, though. You guys have great stuff, but I haven't had as much time to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Next one.
How would you rank the various Fire Emblem games?
Okay, tell you what. Why don't we think back on this, and later I'll just put on the screen here saying what each of us think for overall of the games we have played. How's that
Mm-hmm.
sound?
That sounds good to me.
So let's go for the next question. What sort of Unix do you like to use? Uh, as I mentioned in the earlier question, I have a bias for units that are more on the defensive side than offensive. Generals, the dark mages, because those have very good resistance. Sages, overall characters that can either defend well or heal. Those are things that I value more than just, pure attack power. What about you?
For me, it really varies depending on which Fire Emblem game I'm in. For those with kind of the lesser growth rate periods, like Fire Emblem 7, Fire Emblem 6, Fire Emblem 8, with those I kind of like the balanced characters more, just because you'd have an easier time playing with them. You can't really go wrong with them. Whereas some of either the really defensive or really offensive characters would kind of struggle to gain points in their opposite category. For those like Awakening and Fates, obviously high power is good, but I just kind of pick what picks my fancy or what I want to try in terms of strategy. Can I do this? Can I do X with Y characters? Trying out stuff like that is oftentimes what I like to do.
Yeah, it's absolutely super neat. So the next question, again, we've already gone over that. I would say that favorite classes is very similar to what we just answered, so I'm going to skip that one as well. And then, are you team blame Takumi or Takumi did nothing wrong? Well, I don't like pineapples. Blame Takumi. What about you?
I'll piggyback off that and say I'm Takumi is a pineapple, and pick neither answer.
Okay, and oh boy, that's the question I've been not wanting to say this whole time. I can't believe they pressured me to answer this one. Can you say my top hat is the sexiest thing about me in Portuguese? Meu chapéu é a coisa mais sensual sobre eu. I can't believe I actually said that, but there you go. Congratulations, you got me to say that in a video. I hope you're happy with yourself.
Oh
and
boy.
Don't have any questions because it's not like I have any for you. How's it like? Putting up the zombie who's had too much coffee/tea? You know what? It's really interesting working with this guy. I really enjoyed talking for hours on end, discussing strategies for various games. It's led to some very interesting stuff, both in more technical points of view and also, as you said, Hold My Bjork was because of one little joke you said, which snowballed. So I really enjoyed. You're very fun to work with.
The feeling is mutual. Feeling is
hear.
definitely mutual.
Okay, so next one. Oh, we already answered that one. Never mind. This one then. Go ahead.
For me, my favorite Pokemon is ironically Zigzagoon. Not just because it shares a name with my online presence, or a name first letter with my online presence, but it is in Generation 3. It was a very versatile Pokemon. It could be an HM slave. I've actually done runs with it just because it gets weird stuff like Surf and Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, due to being a normal type. And it is a very good item slave for pickup, trick, switcheroo, covet, thief. It's got a lot of different things, and now in Generation 7 with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, it gets extreme speed via egg move, which is totally cool and just breathes new life into that and its evolution Lanoon. What about you?
Before I answer, I would like you to just add something for our viewers who are not as familiar. You mentioned Extreme Speed Zigzagoon. How did this Pokemon get this move before that?
Well, Extreme Speed Zigzagoon was actually originally available in Generation 3 via Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire Box, which was essentially a glorified extra storage space for those Ruby and Sapphire. It also gave away a couple gift Pokemon as eggs, which in this case included Extreme Speed Zigzagoon, False Swipe Swablu, and the untransferable Surf Pichu. We couldn't transfer the lattermost because of the Surf being a hidden machine in Generation 3.
You forgot my favorite Payday Skitty. How could you?
Oh, Payday Skitty. Payday Skitty is there too, but I always forget that one because I never use it. I RNG'd a shiny one, RNG'd a file for it, and then I completely forgot about it. Because, I mean, I love Payday Meowth more. There's a couple other events with Extreme Speed. I believe there was one either in Generation 6 or Generation 7, where there was a Wonder Cardmon in Japanese that I don't believe ever came outside of those shores, but it did have extreme speed there. But the most notable one I found, well, that I know of, is that aforementioned Generation 3 Ruby and Sapphire box case. And that
Yeah, it
part is
was
now
Jump
defunct.
Festa.
Yeah, it was Jump Festa.
Indeed. 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 So for me, that's I believe a very obvious answer. If you have seen my videos and have seen the artwork I have there, it's Metagross. I have a fondness for Steel and Psychic types, and the idea of a Pokemon that is also supercomputer is something that keeps me thinking. Like, is Metagross a supercomputer relative to third gen? Or now that a decade has passed, can you consider it a supercomputer by this year's standards? If I were able to ask Masuda a question, it would be that. And you know what? I'm actually going to tweet him that later after we finish recording here. May as well.
May as well.
So the next question, you can take that one.
What's the saddest moment in Fire Emblem? For me, while there's obviously stuff like what was covered in Togami's What If Matilda Dies, that was a really feel moment. For me, the saddest moment that I've actually experienced would be in Fire Emblem 10, the choice you're forced to make on your first run through. I'm not going to spoil it all that much, but there's a choice you're forced to make between two options that are both unfavorable choices, and it really hits it home to me about sometimes there really isn't a good option you can choose. So for me,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That moment is that is like the saddest moment, because it really hits home that sometimes there isn't a good way out.
Indeed. For me, it was in Fire Emblem 4 Chapter 5, and I think it's okay if I say a bit about it. It was the massacre of the Yi Desert, and again, I'm not the kind who gets emotional. That was the one time when I actually cried while playing the game. It was genuinely devastating to see your character's brother-in-law and sister. They were supposed to come to your rescue, but they had mounted units in the desert and they were being chased by flying units with horse slayers. And I'm getting a bit emotional just thinking about it. If Ethlin dies first, Quan is told to drop his legendary weapon or his daughter dies. And oh, that man, I'm actually a bit at a loss for words here. If that doesn't show why I find it the saddest moment, I don't know what will, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Next question. Do you accept Kaga as your lord and savior? Do you recognize FE5 as the pinnacle of human achievements? Okay, that's obviously a joke question, so I'm gonna answer by the same token. To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Fire Emblem 5. And yes, I do have a Kaga tattoo, but you must be within 5 IQ points of mine, preferably lower to see it.
I don't have a comment on that. I'm not gonna reply to that. That'd take too long.
What are some video ideas that you had to reject because you didn't think they would be good enough? Well, there is one that stands out to me, and that was to complete the base conversations in Echoes. But as I said back then, it's way too much effort to get those, especially because for the earlier ones, you have to be at certain points in the story, and I don't know how to get to them exactly because there's no clear documentation. I still have a standing offer that if someone figures out a way of hacking the game text or something to make them more accessible, I would do those videos. But until then, I am not going to do it. I'm sorry. The second thing that really got me thinking was, what if Rudolph was the protagonist? And it suggested hacking the game so that you go from Rigel Castle to Ram Village, recruiting the bosses that Alm fights, and then beating Mycen in Ram Village. I thought it was a very interesting concept for a ROM hack, but that's not exactly my area. So if anyone is watching this, please, I believe it will be very interesting to watch.
That's for sure.
And let's take the next one from Hozu again. Of course, you're adding fuel to the fire. Go ahead.
Would you rather fight 100 Joltik-sized Mudsdale or 1 Mudsdale-sized Joltik? Why can't it be Wailord-sized Joltik? Then he could cuddle.
Very, very interesting thought there. I would personally think that 100 Joltik-sized Mudsdale are easier to beat because they are 0.1 meters in height and they're weak to water, so like a spray bottle would kill them instantly, just like that. However, I am going to say one thing about Joltik that has had me thinking for a long time now. That Pokemon learns the move Rock Climb by Egg Move. And I would love to see a Mudsdale-sized Joltik scale up a wall and then see a regular-sized Joltik do so, but at this time holding a human, just like you would in the Gen 4 games. That's something that's been on my mind for like 2 years, and I would love to see it happen. Let's go to the next one then.
Alright.
Is Alm a sellout for creating a dynasty when his whole shtick was about station of birth not mattering? I'm going to leave that to Volmese historians to answer. I will say that he mentions it in the context of the military, but at the same time, he becomes such a loved monarch that they named the continent after him after the whole shtick, as you said, is over. I'm not going to elaborate more on that, though, but do you have anything to add to this one?
Not really. No, not really. I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Give me some of your unpopular opinions in regards to how FE is, whether it be gameplay mechanics related or character related. I believe I said this earlier. Low turn counts don't appeal to me. I enjoy taking my time, that's why I go for bulkier units. And as I said, I try to avoid pairings, but I'm going to make an exception and say that I paired Nana with Claude in FE4 because I wanted to use a recover staff with her as a staff bot. And she didn't turn out so well, but it was a fun experience. What about you?
Um, given how some of the later, like Fire Emblem 13 and Fire Emblem 14, I find that the focus on eugenics sometimes does detract from the actual gameplay. It's a fun mechanic, but the gameplay itself kind of snowballs and focuses on that more than really some of the actual Fire Emblem storyline itself. I really enjoyed Fire Emblem 9 and 10 because they lacked that and they had a coherent story where it kept moving along.
That is very true. And if you compare how FE4 handled child units, where they didn't just, you know, time warp the children into the story, you're actually playing 2 decades later because Arvis won, and you had to basically Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die your way through the game. And that was much more interesting to me. So let's go to the next one. In terms of world building, I mean, we answered that already. You mentioned Telius, I mentioned Yugdraw. What other collaborations do you think FE could do? Yeah, I'm gonna say that I didn't like Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I don't know if that's unpopular to say or not. Come at me. I stand by that allegation. Uh, I would love to see Pokemon X Fire Emblem and also more of a Fire Emblem X SMT. Not like Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which was more like the Persona games, but something more along the lines of Shin Megami Tensei. When we had that trailer showing all the characters from previous SMT games, I thought, oh, finally, we can punch that idiot Chiaki in the face for all she did to us. And those characters were nowhere to be seen. I would love to see. That's something I strongly believe should have happened, and it did not. And that honestly disappoints me because they said, oh, here's this, now here's something completely different. Haha, suckers. We teased you. And that's what really gets me about Tokyo Mirage Sessions, if we're being perfectly honest. And that's what I believe they could do differently and properly. What about you? What do you think?
Um, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with some of the good possible options. I think I'd like to see something, kind of not really high profile as Pokemon or Shin Megami Tensei. Because that would bring popularity to an underappreciated series. I mean, a lot of the games I play some these days aren't totally mainstream, and so I think that would be an interesting concept to use like a crossover mechanic to shed light onto an underappreciated game series. I don't know what it would be,
Such
but
as?
I like the Seventh Dragon series, as previously mentioned. I don't know if that's worthy of a crossover, but there's off the top of my head, that would be a very interesting kind of either putting Fire Emblem characters in the characters from Seventh Dragon shoes, or it's an interesting challenge with possibilities, is the way I see it.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. So we're gonna go ahead and get to the last part here. Right before we started filming, I said I'll take any last minute questions on Twitter, and we had one question here. What made you decide to break the leaderboard for Echoes by Navi? And as we said earlier here, we wanted to do something that involved Wi-Fi battles in Echoes. We had discussed it for a long time, and we were not happy that didn't happen. So I thought, I may as well do what I can with what we do have for Echoes. And that's what motivated me to pretty much top the leaderboard, and I did. And that
Yep.
was that, you know?
That's that.
Pretty straightforward. And that's all the questions for this time, folks. That was a lot more than we were expecting. We were very, very thankful and happy to answer these. Hope you got to know us a bit better, the people behind all of these sadistic videos, and know that we're not just killer machines.
Nope.
And yeah, be sure to like, subscribe, and keep tuning in for more. Thank you so